When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me. Yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it will cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps on spinning. This isn't how living to me was told. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light today, but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering how the world keeps on spinning, kinda scared of living when it unfolds. Hard to see the light when everything is dying, waiting for the clear. Thankful I'm alive, but terrified of dying. But hey, I'm still here. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light today, but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away.
You're the night sky trying to make me see your stars, but the dark gets lonely. Now I see violet, I can feel silence, and the dark's all that I see. When your stars have burnt out and your heart makes no sound, I'll find violet in your eyes. You'll always be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky. Be my night sky. You'll always be my clouds. I can't figure you out now. I see all blue. There is so much cold in you, and the silence is so loud when you go. I just stay dancing with my shadow all day. Watch the time. I can't find the point where our two paths align. But you're the night sky. I'm trying to see your stars, but I've always feared the dark. Now I see violet. I can feel your silence. You always feel so far when your stars have burnt out and your heart makes no sound. I'll find valid in your eyes. You'll always be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky. Be my night sky.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the webinar of the fourth year nursing students of Chinese General Hospital Colleges entitled To All the Me's I've Loved Before, Self-Care is Your Welfare. I am Carol and I'll be one of your hosts on today's meeting. So before we start our session, I will be giving you guys a quick overview on what this webinar is all about. And it's all about self-care. So let's begin with care. Care has been taught to us since the beginning of childhood, from the first touch between a mother and a child, up to the last touch a loved one gives to a person's deathbed. People have been guided to care for themselves as much as they care for others. Although throughout the formative years of one's life, self-care has barely been a priority, and this contributes to the coping mechanism a person does to make everyday work. Nowadays, especially during the pandemic, a lot of movements have been made to promote self-awareness and self-care. But what is self-care? Well, according to Carrie Ann Moss, self-care is more than just a beauty regimen or an external thing you do. It has to start within your heart to know what you need to navigate your life. And with that being said, let us all embark on a journey towards explicate self-awareness and expound our knowledge about self-care. And now, before the webinar starts, I would like to remind everyone of the following. We are both live now on Facebook and on YouTube. Currently, we have 119 viewers on YouTube and 102 on Facebook. So please avoid any unnecessary comments on the comment section below. Only relevant comments about the topic will be allowed. Questions are encouraged during the Q&A segment after the lecture proper. So please type down any of your questions down the comment section below, or you can message us on our official Facebook page, CGHC BSN 2021, if you have any personal questions and want to keep yourself anonymous. Digital certificates will be sent via email after the completion of the post-test and evaluation tool. And lastly, to make our discussion more interactive, we would like to encourage everyone to participate through Mentimeter by opening it up on your browsers, www.menti.com. Again, www.menti.com. And now, I would like to call on Ms. Zandrale for our opening prayer.
Pleasant morning to everyone. I would like to invite each and every one of us to soak ourselves in the presence of God as we lift up this prayer in His name. Father, truly you are the God of God, and the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, O God. You are the God of Israel, O God. You are the God of Isaac, of Abraham, and of Jacob, and we praise you, Father. Lord, we thank you for this day that you have given to us, O God. Lord, we thank you for the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding that you have provided for us to make this webinar happen. I pray, Lord, that as we embark on this journey today, May you guide each and every one of us, and may you anoint our hosts that they may not fumble on their words as they speak. May you anoint our speaker that as she gives insights about self-care and self-awareness, oh God, may you anoint each and every one of my classmates, oh God, that may they work with enthusiasm and joy in their hearts. Lord, I pray also, Lord, na yung audiences namin, oh God, may you provide them with the understanding, oh God, as they grasp knowledge towards this topic, Lord God. And Lord, nawa po'y walang kahit anong interruptions sa internet connections, oh God. And Lord, we claim victory. We will conquer this event, oh God, through the name and the blood of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Lay. And now for our opening remarks, I would like to call on the chairperson of this webinar, Ms. Cassandra Camacho.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to each and every one of you for taking a portion of your precious time to participate in today's webinar, and by wishing you my best in your health and safety during these trying times. As we thread on the pandemic era, the importance of health promotion and illness prevention means have researched to the society now more than ever. But as much as it is important to maintain your physical health to prevent acquiring illnesses during the quarantine period, it is also critical that we maintain our own mental health in check. Just like how Maureen Connolly's saying goes, practice self-rescue first before you help someone else. And what better way to apply self-rescue than having self-awareness and providing self-care? Now, before I introduce our speaker for today, I would like to ask our audience to participate in our little icebreaker that we prepared for you today. If you would please be kind enough to open your browsers and go to menti.com, menti.com, and answer a few questions we prepared for you by entering the code presented on your screens or by scanning the QR code. There is no right or wrong answers, and it will only take a few seconds for you to answer. So the first question is, in one word, please describe how are you feeling right now? So some said tired, some said excited. So the bigger the word, the more people who answered that word. So I'm glad that you guys are excited for our talk for today. Disappointed, stressed. I hope that you're going to feel better after our seminar for today. Exhausted, anxious, and yeah, there's a lot of feelings going on right now. So next question is, okay, what program are you taking? So hello to the 32 nursing students that are with us today, 41, so it keeps going up. Thank you for participating. And to all the radiologic technology and medical technology and psychology students that are with us today, thank you so much. I hope that you learn a lot in our webinar today. So thank you everyone for your participation, and I hope for you to be as active later on in our question and answer portion. Now we would like to formally welcome everyone in this webinar to join us in the journey of understanding what goes beyond self-care. And on that note, I am ecstatic to introduce to you our speaker for today. She graduated with a Master of Arts degree in clinical psychology with emphasis in marriage and family therapy from Azusa Pacific University, California, USA. With a major in psychology and a minor in biblical doctrines, she is passionate about teaching psycho-spiritual principles integrating psychology and theology. She looks forward to starting her doctorate studies in clinical Christian counseling at Asian Graduate School of Theology/PSOP. She is currently a resource speaker and trainer, conducting seminars on mental health, conflict management, and other relational and familial issues here and abroad. She also facilitates workshops and team building events in schools, churches, and corporate companies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Shaina Gale Kua.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all of you who are watching through Facebook or YouTube. And first of all, I just want to thank the BSN fourth year students for facilitating this event and for holding this event. Alam ko na kailangan natin lahat ng self-care. You know, ever since the pandemic, ever since nagkaroon tayo ng COVID pandemic, lahat tayo ay nakakaranas ng iba't ibang pakiramdam. And the word self-care has always been on social media, on the news. Pero ano nga ba talaga ang self-care? But first of all, I want to welcome everybody, especially the nursing students. Ang seminar na ito is focused on nursing students, but like me, I am a psychology major. So I'm very excited to also have the psychology students with us today. And kahit ano pang course mo, this seminar is for all of us. So let me just share my slide so we can start our lecture for today. So first of all, you know, nung pinakita nila sa akin ang poster na ito, sobrang natuwa ako because it's very relevant, it's very timely to all the me's I've loved before. I'm sure that in our journey of finding ourselves, marami tayong natututunan tungkol sa ating mga sarili. And I hope and pray that today, mas marami pa tayong matututunan about ourselves. But I pray that this seminar will just challenge us to be a better version of ourselves, so that we can be a blessing to other people, to be a blessing to the patients that we will see in the future. So, you know, nurses, madalas, especially here in the Philippines, I think we can all agree that nurses usually sabi nila, ay assistant lang ng doctor yan. Right? Or ay katulong lang yan, ay tagahugas lang yan. But you know, I want to elevate, I want to take off that stigma from nurses because I believe that nurses are actually considered as leaders who are providing patient care. And they are the frontliners. Kaya nga sabi natin ngayon na pandemic, parang sinasabi natin that, you know, we are very thankful for doctors and nurses, for nurses who are serving us. And one of the things that I want us to really realize is walang nurturing or walang caring environment without nurses. And so it's very important for us to realize that nurses are considered leaders in providing patient care. Nurses are the front line of healthcare delivery. They are pivotal to providing self-care, high-quality care, and assuring positive patient outcomes. But then, alam nyo po, even if, you know, nurses are leaders, nurses are in the frontliners, sila din ang nakakaranas ng very extreme burnt out. Sino sa atin yung pagod na? Kanina, tinanong tayo ni Cara kung ano ang nararamdaman natin. A lot of us said, you know, we're anxious. A lot of us said na we are actually tired already. We're exhausted already. And so these are the articles na gather ko na it's not just about pandemic, but even before pandemic, ito na yung experiences ng mga nurses natin. So can you just look at it and let's see kung ano ba yung mga madalas na headlines about nurses. First, there's burnt out and its burden on nurses. Address nurse shortage, burnt out in Cebu. COVID conditions, significantly worsening the nurses' mental health. Nurses are stepping up to prevent suicides among their colleagues. So imagine, even if nurses are in the frontliners, even if nurses are healthcare workers, kahit sila mismo, nagsasuffer na din sila. And there are a lot of nurses who are leaving their jobs, who are quitting their jobs because of this burnout and exhaustion. And I'm sure that kahit anong course mo, either you're a psychology student, a radiology student, kahit anong profession mo, lahat tayo prone tayo to burnt out, especially with the long hours, especially when you are in the medical field. Imagine mo how long you have to work, the lack of sleep. A lot of times ang thinking natin sa lack of sleep, parang ay, ano lang yan, tulog lang yan, mababawi ko yan. But did you know that when you lack sleep, merong neurotransmitters in your brain na kulang? That is the reason why na experience mo na ba na kulang ka sa tulog kaya bugnutin ka. Kulang ka sa tulog kaya mainit ang ulo mo. Kulang ka sa tulog kaya konting kibot lang, naiinis ka, irritable ka. It's because there's a neurotransmitter in your brain called serotonin na kulang ang release ng brain because kulang ka sa tulog, right? So lack of sleep, long hours, high stress environment. Imagine, because we are healthcare workers, nakasalalay sa atin ang buhay ng tao. Nakasalalay sa atin ang safety ng tao. So imagine that pressure. Imagine that pressure that a life of a person is actually in your hands, right? A lack of support. Hindi natin maaasahan na laging may support sa atin yung colleagues natin. Hindi natin maaasahan na laging may support sa atin yung mga kaibigan natin. Nakakalungkot because even in the workplace, in the hospitals, maraming miscommunications. Nangyayari yan, whether we like it or not. I always tell my clients, whenever there is people, there is conflict. So hindi mo matatakasan ang conflict. So may miscommunications. Meron din namang lack of cooperation, di ba? For example, you're working with the medical team, you're working with different professionals in the hospital, and then merong pasaway, merong hindi ginagawa yung trabaho niya. And so that also increases our stress. What else? Bullying in the workplace. Bullying in the workplace, akala natin sa school lang, no? Akala natin sa high school lang or akala natin sa college lang. But it's happening. It's happening in the workplace when seniors will bully yung mga juniors. When the people at the top of the leadership ladder would bully the people that's subordinating them. And so, maraming bullying na nangyayari sa workplace. Also, we can also see here that, emotional stress. Ang pinagdadaanan natin lahat as medical workers is not just physical stress. Buti sana kung physical stress lang, kulang sa tulog, long hours, pero may emotional stress din. May social stress din. And when I was thinking about this, ang buhay natin, alam nyo, hindi lang naman sa hospital, right? Ang buhay natin, hindi lang naman sa trabaho. When we get home, what happens? When we get home, we have families to deal with. Meron tayong mga aging parents. Meron tayong mga kapatid na nangangailangan ng tulong. So imagine our life as medical practitioners na busy tayo sa hospital, busy tayo with our profession and our career, but at the same time, busy din tayo with our family life. And so nakita natin dito that the stress, the strain is just across the chart. And hindi pa natin maaalis dito yung emotional strain na nanggagaling sa mga pasyente. 'Di ba? May mga pasyente na mahirap talaga. May mga pasyente na ang hirap kausapin, hindi nakikinig. May mga pasyente na hindi nagko-comply. 'Di ba? So imagine that emotional stress kapag difficult yung patient mo. And no wonder why there's a lot of burnt out, not just here in the Philippines, but across the globe. And one of the things that I really want you to understand, especially nowadays, is that we just don't focus on the efficacy. Let's not just focus on the effectiveness. Ang effectiveness, pwede yan sa pag-aaral ng mabuti, nagre-review kayo, you're getting good grades, effectiveness. As a professional, you are effective. But my question is that, will you stay long? Longevity. Will you be able to stay long in this course? Or, pagkatapos ng college, you work for a bit and then burnt out na. Ayoko na. Pagod na ako. Hindi ko na kaya. Or we experience emotional and mental breakdown. right? And so very important that, yes, we do focus on the efficacy. We do focus on being effective healthcare practitioners, but also we have to focus on the longevity, our ability to stay long in course, our ability to stay long kahit na mahirap. And dito pumapasok ang self-care. Dito pumapasok yung habit of self-care because whether we like it or not, mapapagod ka, kapatid. Whether you like it or not, maraming problema ka na you will encounter in your job, in your family, in your personal life. So you have to cultivate the habit of self-care. Now, maybe you're thinking, hindi pa ako nagjo-duty, hindi pa naman ako registered nurse, so baka pwedeng next time na yan. But you know what? The habit of self-care has to start today. Because kapag magsa-start ang self-care mo, pag graduate ka na, pag nagtatrabaho ka na, then ang hirap, 'di ba? Ang hirap na paano ko ba aalagaan yung sarili ko? Sobrang busy ko na. So ngayon pa lang na nag-aaral ka, ngayon pa lang na nagte-training ka, you have to prioritize self-care. Now, what is self-care? Kanina medyo binigyan tayo ng glimpse of what self-care is. And I'm sure that on social media, sobrang daming posts about self-care. But first, I want you to remember that self-care is nurturing. Self-care is nurturing. Now, I want you to see that you as a human being, you have 5 aspects: physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. So that means when you say self-care, you cannot just focus on one aspect. You have to focus on the 5 aspects. Hindi pwedeng naka-focus tayo sa mental, emotional, social, and spiritual, pero physical, napapabayaan natin. Why? Because all these are connected. All these are actually affecting each other. For example, pagod na pagod na pagod ka na. You're exhausted. So, ang tendency, naranasan nyo na ba na sa sobrang pagod, hindi ka na makapag-aral? So, sobrang pagod mo physically, gumaganda pa yung utak mo. Pero wala nang pumapasok. Ang hirap na mag-focus, ang hirap na mag-concentrate, and then your emotional aspect is also affected. Irritable ka na, naiinis ka na, right? What else? Social. Kapag ka may nagtanong lang sa'yo na, uy, ano ba yung assignment natin tungkol dito? Naiinis ka na agad, irritable ka na agad, right? Or siguro binilyawan mo na yung kaklase mo because you're not feeling well. And everything started with the physical because pagod ka, right? And so these physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, they are all connected to each other. And I also want to emphasize here on a daily basis. On a daily basis. Bakit? You know, many times, myself included, we're always guilty of magsa-self-care ako tuwing Sunday lang. Alright? Or babawi ako ng tulog tuwing Sunday lang. Or I will take care of my social life tuwing Saturday lang. So ang nangyayari sa atin, one time, big time. Ang nangyayari sa atin, empty tayo for the rest of the week. And then biglang self-care, boom. Pero ang challenge sa atin for real self-care is to do it on a daily basis. Hindi kailangan malaking bagay yung self-care. It can be little things that you do every day. And later, I'll give you practical steps on how to do that. So first, self-care is nurturing. So tignan nga natin, how well are you taking care of yourself? All right, so I want you to take out probably your phone or your paper and a pen. And I will show you questions. Mabilis lang to, 20 questions. And I want you to just answer a yes or a no. Okay? So answer a no if it's something that you don't really do. Something that minsan lang, bihira lang, alright? But I want you to answer a yes if it's something that you always do, you often do. Madalas kong ginagawa yan, lagi kong ginagawa yan. Okay, are you ready? So you take out a pen, you take out a paper, and you take out your phone. All you have to do is answer yes or a no. Make sure that you write it down, because you'll count it later. Okay, so let's start. This is the first 5 questions. Go ahead, answer a yes or a no. A yes meaning you do it regularly, you do it often, or a no when you're actually doing it, minsan lang, hindi masyado, bihira lang. Okay. First 5 questions is up on your screen. Go ahead and start answering. Okay, so a yes or a no. Very easy. Now let's go to the next 5 questions. Good? Yes? All right, next. All right, so let's go to our last 5 questions. Okay, so once you're done, all you have to do is count your yeses. All right? So go ahead, count your yeses. Don't worry, hindi namin yan ipapasubmit sa inyo. So you can be just as honest as you can. Okay, count the number of yeses that you have. Okay na? Good, good, yes? All right. So, let's see how you score. Okay? Tignan natin kung how well are you taking care of your health or of yourself. Okay. So, if you got 1 to 5 yeses, then that means that you really need self-care. You really have to prioritize yourself. And I hope that this seminar will give you practical ways of how to do just that. Right? Okay lang na medyo late. At least hindi never, di ba? We can start doing and improving ourselves today. So 1 to 5 means you really need self-care. 6 to 10, ito yung sinasabi natin na sa school, pasang-awa. It's the bare minimum for self-care. That means konting tulak lang sa'yo, malalaglag ka doon sa non-self-care realm. Alright? So you have to be more intentional in taking good care of yourself. 6 to 10. How about those of you na nakakuha ng 11 to 15? Meron ba? Yes? That means you are doing a fantastic job. So, palakpakan naman sa mga taong 11 to 15 na kahit na gaano ka busy, kahit na gaano ka stress, I'm taking good care of myself. 11 to 15. If 16 to 20, yan naman, di ba? Sabi nga nila, may panalo na pag may 16 to 20 ka, right? But I'm pretty sure na wala naman sa atin ang 20. Wala sa atin ang perfect na I'm taking excellent care of myself, right? And so I hope that whatever your score is, this will kind of just challenge you and inspire you na meron pa akong pwedeng gawin to be able to improve my self-care. All right, so again, you saw your scores 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20. So I hope that this doesn't discourage you, ha? I pray that this inspires you to improve yourself. Kasi lahat tayo, meron tayong areas of growth. Now, second, so sabi natin kanina, self-care is nurturing. Second is self-care is hard work. Self-care is hard work. Alam mo, ang self-care, hindi lamang yan tungkol sa pagpunta sa spa, hindi lamang yan sa pagpunta sa massage, hindi lamang yan pagbili ng favorite milk tea mo, hindi lamang yan pagkain ng favorite food mo. It's also about being intentional about your growth. Meron bang inaambag yung mga bagay na ginagawa mo araw-araw sa growth mo? As a nurse, I believe that you guys, especially sa mga nurse in training sa inyo, you will meet a lot of people. Actually, kahit na hindi nga nurse, kahit na different professions, you will always meet different kinds of people. Now, what if, ever nyo na ba naisip, what if yung patient ninyo reminds you of someone who has hurt you in the past? What if yung patient ninyo is kinikriticize kayo or ini-insulto kayo? What if yung patient ninyo, you feel like this person doesn't deserve my care? Pag ganun na yung nafe-feel natin, how do we stay true to our mandate to do no harm? How do we still provide excellent care if may natitrigger na sa atin? So very important that we be intentional about our growth. Do not neglect your preparation process. Alamin mo kung ano yung nagtitrigger sa'yo ngayon. Alamin mo, lahat tayo may baggages. So alamin mo kung ano yung mga baggages mo ngayon so that alam mo when you are already practicing, alam mo kung ano yung magpapatrigger sa'yo. Yeah? Alam mo na mahirap kung itolerate yung mga taong mainsulto. Mahirap kung ma-tolerate yung mga taong nag-criticize. At least you know, hindi ka magugulat na lang bigla na pag nagpa-practice ka na as a nurse and then na-trigger ka, nag-walk out ka na lang. Or ayaw mo na lang pumasok kasi difficult yung patient mo. Right? Also, dito pumapasok yung self-awareness. Dapat kilala mo ang sarili mo. You have to be able to recognize and understand your thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Bakit ganito yung naiisip ko? Bakit ganito yung nararamdaman ko? Bakit ganito ako kumilos? So many times, nakakalungkot when I was in the States, I did a research. And one of the things that I found out is that for countries that are still developing, like the Philippines, developing countries, hirap tayo sa introspection. When we say introspection, self-awareness, hirap tayo to look within ourselves. Why? Because everybody's in a survival mode. Tama nga naman, di ba, na dahil mahirap ang buhay dito sa Pilipinas, wala ka ng panahon para mag-isip. Wala ka ng panahon para umupo at isipin, ano bang nararamdaman ko? Ano bang naiisip ko? So our instinct is to work. Kailangan kong kumayod. Kailangan kong magtrabaho. But we are not intentional in pausing and actually asking ourselves, kamusta ako? Kamusta yung nararamdaman ko? Tayong mga Pilipino, mahilig tayong magkamusta ng ibang tao. Correct? Kapag may nakita tayo, uy, kamusta ka? Uy, kamusta na yung ganito mo? Pero ang tanong ko sa inyo, students, when was the last time you actually asked yourself, kamusta ka? O, kamusta nga ba talaga ako? So pag-isipan natin yan, very important. And of course, very important din that you know your strength and your weaknesses. Ano yung strength mo as a person? As a person muna, hindi mo na as a nurse. As a person, ano yung strength mo? Ano din yung weaknesses mo? Ano yung ayaw mo, tsaka ano yung gusto mo? Anong nagmo-motivate sa'yo? Ano ang beliefs and values mo? And then as a nurse, ganun din. As a nurse, saan ka mahina? Because if you are aware of these things, you know that you can do something to improve yourself. Pag in denial ka sa mga weaknesses mo, then how can you improve yourself? No, I want to introduce to you this concept of intellectual humility. Intellectual humility. What is that? You know, ang intellectual humility is knowing na posibleng mali ka. Is acknowledging na hindi ako laging tama. And so there is a possibility that I am wrong. So I am open to actually learning from other people. I am open to be corrected. I am open for feedback. And when you are open, you will learn a lot. Because if ayaw mo, if in denial ka, if feeling mo perfect ka, if feeling mo that lahat ng strength nasa sayo, then you won't be open for feedback and you won't learn. So yes, feedback, I love to say this. Feedback hurts the ego. Masakit yan. Masakit yan when your supervisors, when your teachers, when your peers tell you na, ay, medyo mahina ka dito ah. Pero, it is healthy for the soul. It hurts the ego, but it is healthy for the soul. Healthy yan sa kaluluwa mo because you can learn, you can grow, you can improve. All right? So self-care is hard work. Hard work talaga because it hurts. 'Di ba? It hurts, pero you will grow. So do not neglect the preparation process. Do not neglect self-awareness. Kailangan mo yan as a person and as a nurse. And later, I'll share you tips kung paano ma-increase ang self-awareness. Now, third. So sabi natin, what is the first one? Self-care is nurturing. Good. Second one is self-care is a hard work. Yes, it is hard work. It's not just the good things that we do for ourselves. And third, self-care is not selfish. You know, in our culture, madalas iniisip natin, ay, selfish yan kapag inuna mo sarili mo. Selfish yan kapag inalagaan mo yung sarili mo. Pero I will admit, I will say this, there is a thin line between self-worship and self-care. Ayaw mong self-worship. Ayaw mong apology ka. Okay? Ayaw mong narcissistic ka. Ayaw mong selfish ka. But on the other side, you have to learn how to care for yourself. And there is a thin line between that. And that thin line is your purpose. Your true purpose. Bakit mo nga ba inaalagaan ang sarili mo? Ulitin ko yan ha. Bakit mo inaalagaan ang sarili mo? What is your true purpose? If your true purpose of taking good care of yourself is so that you can take care of other people, then that is not selfish. If your true purpose is for me to be the best nurse, the best health practitioner that I can be for my patients, then that is not selfish. Right? So, hindi lang yung sarili mo ang iniisip mo. Remember their instructions kapag tayo ay sumasakay ng airplane. Sabi nila, tuwing emergency, you have to put on your mask first before you help putting on the mask of other people. Is that selfish? Of course not. It's not selfish to put your mask on because kailangan mo yon. You have to be okay in order to put on the mask of other people. Yeah? So, ganun din sa self-care natin individually. So, it is not selfish. So, it is nurturing, it's hard work, and it is not selfish. Now, what hinders self-care? I think by now, nakita na natin that very important ang self-care. Nakita na natin that very crucial ang self-care, especially if you are a nurse, especially if you are a healthcare practitioner. Pero bakit ba hirap na hirap tayo? Bakit ba nagsastruggle tayo in taking good care of ourselves? First, I believe, is the environment, the culture, the upbringing. How has the Filipino culture shaped our concept of self-care? Sige nga, I want you to just observe. Observe the culture in your home, the culture of the Philippines in general. Ano ang natututunan natin sa self-care? You know, ang Pilipinas is an Asian country. So that means ang culture natin generally is very collectivistic. When we say collectivistic, group mind. Kung ano yung ikabubutin para sa lahat. Kung ano yung kailangan ng lahat, dun ako. Whereas, very different from the Western culture na very individualistic. Okay, na yung sarili lang nila yung iniisip nila, their goals, their dreams. Okay, now, how does that translate to what hinders our self-care? You know, madalas in our culture, if iba yung pananaw mo, ang una nilang iniisip ay hindi marunong makisama. Correct? Kapag tinanong ka na, uy, pwede bang ikaw naman yung magrelyebo sa akin? Can you take over for me? Tapos alam mo na hindi mo na talaga kaya, so you have to say no. They will take it personally. Tama? Na-experience na ba natin yon na parang kasalanan ang mag-no? Parang kasalanan ang hindi pagbigyan ang ibang tao? Or parang every time that we are making decisions, iniisip natin, agad is yung utang na loob. Now, I'm not saying that this is all wrong, okay? I'm not saying na masama ang utang na loob or masama na hindi tayo marunong makisama or hindi natin kayang pagbigyan yung hiling ng ibang tao. But when it begins to be an obligation than a privilege, then it becomes toxic or harmful. Walang masama na your parents are requesting na, anak, pwede bang tulungan mo kami sa pagpapaaral ng iba mong kapatid? Pwede bang tulungan mo kami sa bahay? Walang masama doon. But sometimes, or many times in our culture, it becomes an obligation. Yung hindi ka na masaya, hindi mo naman gustong gawin, pero kailangan eh. Then yun yung nagiging poisonous sa atin, sa self-care natin. Because instead of saying, I get to do it, you know, I get to support my siblings, I get to help my parents, it becomes, I have to. I have to support my parents. No choice eh. I have to support my siblings. Ako lang inaasahan eh. And that becomes a hindrance to our self-care because it becomes an obligation. It becomes now a burden to us rather than a privilege. Now, I want you to think about your own life. How has your upbringing influenced your beliefs about self-care? Iba-iba tayo. Different family ang pinanggalingan natin, you know, different family culture. Pero ano-ano yung mga misconceptions na pwedeng hindi ka aware before na naka-influence sa thinking mo ng self-care ngayon, kaya ka nahihirapan to take good care of yourself. What are those? What hinders you from taking good care of yourself? So that is first, environment. And the second one is self-concept. How do you see yourself? When you look at yourself in the mirror, how do you see yourself? Ano ang nakikita mo? Do you see a person who is able to take control of things? Do you see a person na kahit mahirap, kakayanin ko to? Or do you see a person na lagi na lang akong mali, lagi na lang akong talunan, lagi na lang akong bumabagsak? How do you see yourself? Because how do you see yourself is rooted in your sense of worth and value. Nakadepende siya sa paniniwala mo kung ano yung worth mo, ano yung value mo as a person. You know, there is a huge difference between self-confidence and self-esteem. Madalas akala natin parehas, right? Pero alam mo ba that self-confidence is your confidence in your abilities. So for example, magaling akong estudyante, high grades, good student leader, I can finish all my tasks. magaling akong kumanta, magaling akong sumayaw. You know, lahat yan. Self-confidence. Pero pag sinabi nating self-esteem, that means your sense of worth and your value. Alam mong mahalaga ka kahit na wala kang ginagawa. So it's possible that you have high self-confidence, but you have low self-esteem. Nagigets natin? It's possible that you know, magaling akong estudyante, but at the end of the day, I question my worth and my value. I question if, importante ba talaga ako? Do I really matter? Do the things I do really matter? Nakita natin yung difference, right? So my question for you is not your self-confidence. My question for you now is your sense of worth and value, your self-esteem, your self-concept. How is it? Because if you believe truly that you are worth something, that you are valuable, then natural yon na pangangalagaan mo ang sarili mo. Do you believe that you are worthy to be taken care of? Naniniwala ka ba that you deserve care? That you deserve to be taken good care of? Or we question our worth, we question our value, so we look to other people to get it. Kailangan may gawin ako para magka-value ako. Kailangan may gawin ako para magka-worth ako. When that happens, yun na yung sinasabi nating mahirap tayong mag-no kasi nagiging people pleasers tayo. And that hinders our self-care. Because yes ka ng yes sa lahat ng tao, kahit na pagod ka na. Correct? So that can be a hindrance to self-care. So you have to understand, you have to ask yourself, kamusta ang self-worth ko? Kamusta ang self-value ko? Do I really believe that I have worth, that I have value? So two top hindrances, your environment and your self-concept. Now, let's go to the practical things naman. Ways to practice self-care. Paano ba natin papangalagaan ang ating sarili? So sabi natin kanina, we have 5 aspects of self, correct? So iisa-isahin natin yan. I'm gonna give you practical steps for each aspect so that holistic ang ating self-care. Okay? So let's first look at the physical. Kamusta ang physical aspect mo? And what can you do to actually take good care of your physical? Now, I want you to look at this one. Ayan, especially sa mga nurses natin, sa mga biology major, or even psychology major or other professions. I'm sure that you are familiar with the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex. Ano ang role ng prefrontal cortex? Sige nga. Naalala nyo ba? Para saan? Ano ang function ng prefrontal cortex? Prefrontal cortex is for your thinking, for your attention. Okay, now, alam nyo ba that when we exercise, when we do something active, nag-i-increase ang activity ng prefrontal cortex natin. Okay? Now, the second part na affected sa ating exercise or being active is the hippocampus, which is part of the frontal lobe, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it's part of that hippocampus. So ano naman ang hippocampus? Hippocampus naman is your memory. Okay? The long-term and the short-term memory. Now, what happens is this. Because maraming activity, when you are exercising, it increases your mood, it increases your attention and memory, and it improves your reaction time. And this is based on research. You know, when you are doing something active, your brain is actually releasing what we call dopamine. Familiar? Dopamine is your happy hormone, correct? So when you are exercising, your brain is releasing dopamine that increases your mood. Napapaganda niya yung mood mo. Okay? So it boosts your mood. Dahil nga it increases the activity of the prefrontal cortex, attention. Mas nakakapag-focus ka. Mas nakakapag-concentrate ka. Okay? Ang hippocampus naman is the memory. Na i-increase niya yung long-term memory mo. Now, improves reaction time. Ano ang reaction time? Ang reaction time, because andun yung focus mo, andun ang memory mo, and you are in a good mood. Ang reaction time is, for example, may natabig na tubig, may natabig na cup. Yung bilis mo, yung reflexes mo to actually catch it. Right? So, for example, may matutumba na furniture, yung reaction time mo to actually hold it. So that is the reaction time. And I think as nurses, as medical practitioners, reaction time is very important. Diba? To save the day. Diba? Kasi madalas maraming nangyayari sa hospitals. Very chaotic, especially kapag nasa emergency room ka. So dapat mabilis yung reaction time mo. Okay, now, the thing that I also want us to see here, that the soma and the psyche are connected. What does that mean? Soma is your body. Psyche is your mental. Have you ever experienced na masakit ang ulo mo, tapos maya-maya, so soma, body, masakit ulo mo, migraine, you're not feeling well, and then hindi ka na makapag-aral kasi wala nang pumapasok sa isip mo. Right? Or, kinakabahan ka. So, psyche, mentally kinakabahan ka, and then you feel like vomiting. You feel nauseous. So that's evidences that soma and psyche, your body and your mind, your mental is connected. Okay? So very important that we exercise, that we be physically active. Hindi naman kailangan mag-gym, especially quarantine. Hindi naman kailangan na full out na workout. It can just be, tumayo ka. After the lecture, tumayo ka, maglakad-lakad ka. Right? Or mag-push-ups ka. Or punta ka sa YouTube. Sundan mo yung mga Zumba na ginagawa. Right? So, little things that you can do. Now, question. What is the minimum amount of exercise in order to get these changes? Sige, may guess ba kayo? Ano yung guess ninyo? Any guesses? Minimum amount of exercise para makita nyo tong boost ng mood, increase attention and memory, and improvement of reaction time. Minimum amount of exercise. Okay, so the right answer, minimum amount of exercise is 3 to 4 times a week. Right? 3 to 4 times a week, 30 minutes a day. Okay, so 3 to 4 times a week, 30 minutes a day, specifically aerobic exercise. So when you do that 3 to 4 times a week, 30 minutes each, then you can expect that you can improve these things physically. So now, here's my challenge. Alright? So ito yung pwede mong application. You make a plan. What days am I going to exercise? You have to make a plan. Kasi pag sinabi mong, pag may oras lang, ako, hindi natin yan magagawa ng oras. Tama? So you have to write it down on your planner. You have to be intentional. Okay, Monday, Wednesday, MWF, tapos Saturday. Alright, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, tapos Sunday. Right? So you have to really know na itong days na to, kailangan mag-exercise ako. Right? 3 to 4 days. Anong sabi natin minimum? 3 to 4 days a week, 30 minutes each. Okay? So that is for the physical. How about emotional? Ito na. Now, for all of you guys who are into the neurological basis of things, alam nyo ba that whenever we are experiencing stress, okay, any kind of stress, physical stress, emotional stress, whatever stress is that, pag na-experience natin yung stress, nagkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag na activated amygdala. Ano ang amygdala? Do you remember? Amygdala is in charge of your emotions. Okay? Amygdala is your emotion or your feeling brain. Now, when you are stressed, activated si amygdala. And so, you respond. It's either you fight, you flight, or you freeze. Okay? Now, this is normal. And this is actually what we call protective factor. Diba? Na pagka may danger, pag stress ka, may kailangan kang gawin. But what happens when we bottle everything inside? What happens when kinikimkim natin lahat ng stress natin sa loob natin? what happens is that it increases the cortisol. What is cortisol? It's a stress hormone, right? It increases the cortisol kasi sobrang activated ni amygdala. Sobrang overwhelmed na ni amygdala. So nagkakaroon ng overactive na fear, overactive na sadness, sobrang overwhelming, tataas si cortisol, your stress hormone, and ang tendency, your immune system will go down. And when your immune system will go down, now there is a higher risk for medical conditions like sakit sikmura. Have you ever experienced that? So sobrang stress, ang sakit ng tiyan. Sa sobrang stress, meron tayong gastrointestinal na problems, di ba? May acidic reflux tayo, right? Because of that, it also increases the risk of mental illness like depression and anxiety. And it all boils down to the bottling of emotions. It all boils down to kinikim-kim natin yung emosyon natin. And I think as Filipinos, tawag nga nila sa depression ng maraming Filipinos is a laughing depression. Because kaya natin itawa ang lahat. Kaya natin ngumiti kahit na hindi tayo okay. You know, our culture as Filipinos, sabi nila, that we are the third happiest people in the planet. And that's good. Sabi nila, Filipinos are resilient, and that's good. But on the other side of being a Filipino is that we rather struggle in secret. We rather struggle in isolation. Ayaw nating malaman ng iba na hindi tayo okay. Probably because takot tayo ma-judge, or meron tayong thinking na, I have to be strong for my family, ayoko maging pabigat sa mga kaibigan ko, or takot tayo na masabihan ng KSP, takot tayo na masabihan ng gawa-gawa lang yan, ang arte mo naman, kulang ka sa pansin. And so all of these things contributes to our tendency to bottle everything inside. And so, which is not good for us. It increases the cortisol, stress, and then may physical problems, and then meron ding mental health problems. So what do we do? What do we do? First, acknowledge. We have to learn to acknowledge kasi hindi to natural sa atin eh. Hindi tayo nasanay na ganito. So we have to acknowledge, conscious effort to acknowledge what am I feeling. Even if feeling natin, negative yung feeling natin. So for example, anger or sadness. Sometimes nagdududa tayo sa sarili natin na may karapatan ba akong magalit? May karapatan ba akong malungkot? May karapatan ba akong frustrated ako? Instead of asking, may karapatan ba ako? Let's just admit it. Whatever the reason is kung bakit ka galit, bakit ka frustrated, just acknowledge na, you know what, I'm frustrated. Ayoko maging frustrated, but I'm frustrated. Ayoko maging sad, but I'm sad. So acknowledge. Let us avoid or deny, let's not avoid or deny difficult emotions. Kasi madalas ang nangyayari sa atin, kasi ang hirap aminin na malungkot tayo, ang hirap aminin na galit tayo, masakit din sa damdamin na aminin yon, right? So our tendency is to go to Netflix para makalimot. We go to gaming para makalimot. We go to different things, Shopee, retail therapy, sabi nga nila, di ba? So we go to different things, we drink, we do different things para lang makalimot. But let's be real. Does it magically disappear? Yung mga nararamdaman ba natin, real talk, does it magically disappear? It does not. It comes back. So until we deal it, it's always gonna go back. So mas magandang i-deal na natin siya ngayon kesa pagka practicing professionals na tayo, doon lang lahat sasabog, doon lang lahat matatambak. So mas mahirap sa atin ngayon to process. I always say this, you have to feel in order to heal. You have to feel in order to heal. You cannot heal if hindi mo alam kung ano yung nararamdaman mo. Madalas, when you're hurt, galit tayo kasi probably someone betrayed us or we felt like hindi ko deserve na matrato ng ganun. Instead of feeling the pain, instead of feeling the anger and the sadness, gusto natin forgiveness agad. Correct? Especially in our culture, Catholic culture, na You have to forgive. Hindi pwedeng may sama ka ng loob. Hindi pwedeng may galit ka sa kapwa mo. Kailangan forgive. So now our mind, instead of feeling it first, we go straight to forgiveness. And then we realize that hindi pala totoo yung forgiveness ko. Why? Kasi paano ka makakapag-forgive if hindi mo muna in-acknowledge na nagalit ka, na nasaktan ka, kaya kailangan mo mag-forgive. Right? I was a victim of bullying for 7 years in my growing up years. And I thought I was okay. I thought that okay na lahat. But when I went to the States, I had to go through my personal therapy. So I had to go through my own healing journey. And I remember, yung therapist ko, sabi niya, nakaramdam ka na ba ng galit sa mga taong nagbully sa'yo? And you know, I grew up in a very religious home. And so nasanay ako na, hindi naman, I actually thank the Lord kasi because of them, I'm stronger. You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know, because of them, I learned so many things about myself. Yun yung sagot ko. And my therapist said, you know what, you cannot forgive if you do not feel angry first. You do not forgive. You cannot forgive when you first do not realize that what they did to you was wrong. And dun ko na realize that we have to feel. We have to know what we're going through in order to forgive. Yeah? So do not avoid or deny difficult emotions, and let's be aware of toxic positivity. Yung good vibes only, you know, walang masama na good vibes only. Pero if we really think about it, possible ba that every day 24/7 good vibes only? It's not possible, right? It's not possible. So positivity is good. Pero if dahil dyan sa positivity na yan, you're avoiding and denying your own emotions and the emotions of other people, then it's not healthy positivity anymore. It's toxic, it's poisonous because you're bottling everything inside. And I also want to introduce to you this term spiritual bypassing. Ano ang spiritual bypassing? I don't know if kung ano yung religions na nire-represent ninyo. Some are probably Christian, Catholics. And because, especially here in the Philippines, hindi naman lingid sa kaisipan natin ano, that we are very exposed to like Bible verses, correct? We are very exposed to verse, probably you've heard this, na I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay, di ba? Or trust in the Lord with all your heart. Okay. So those are good. Those promises of God are true. Pero madalas, ang nangyayari sa atin is this. Kinakabahan ka, you deny na kinakabahan ka. Hindi ako kinakabahan, hindi ako natatakot. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So what do? We bypass our true emotions, and then we use yung mga Bible verses, yung mga naririnig natin sa church or sa mass, and we band-aid it to our wounds. Nagets natin? Hindi, in denial tayo. Dinideny natin yung totoo nating nararamdaman, and we use spiritual things to band-aid it. Now, what is a healthier way of processing that? You know, the healthier way is to actually acknowledge, you know, God, I'm frustrated. God, I'm having a hard time right now. God, I'm feeling hopeless right now, but I will choose to trust in you. But I know that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Nakita natin yung difference. Yung una, dinenay mo. Pinaniwala mo yung sarili mo na okay lang ako. But the second one, you're actually aware and you admit that I'm not okay, but here's the promises of God. Here's the truth that I can hold on to. Yeah? So I hope that yun yung maging practice natin. When you catch yourself, kasi automatic yan eh, especially pag nasanay tayo na promises agad ni God or inspirational quotes agad, di ba? Pag nahuli mo yung sarili mo, teka, pause. Teka, ano ba muna nararamdaman ko ngayon? Anong pinagdadaanan ko ngayon? Anong nararamdaman ko ngayon? Right? Pag na-admit mo yon, then you move forward to that inspirational quote. You move forward to that Bible truth or God's promises. Yeah? So that is acknowledge. The second one is keep a journal. Sabi natin kanina, let's not bottle everything inside. So how do we do that? By keeping a journal. I have an app actually here in my phone. It's called Dailyo. It's a free app. You can Google it, Dailyo. It's Daylio. Dailyo. Basically, every day it will ask you, how are you feeling? Okay? So it will ask you how you are feeling, and then merong notes doon. And in the notes, you can actually put there, what is my high for today? Pag sinabing high, what is something positive that happened to you today? Okay? And then, yung isa naman is low. What is something negative that happened to me today? Okay, so high and low. So once na sinusulat natin yon, once na tinatype natin yon, we're putting it out. Hindi natin kinikimkim. Nilalabas natin siya para hindi tayo sumabog. Okay? And then the last one is externalize. Pag sinabi natin externalize, you do things that will help you, parang outlet. So you write a song, you sing a song, you talk to a friend, you paint, you draw, whatever you want to do. You run, anything that you want to do para may outlet ka. Para hindi lang siya nasa loob, hindi lang siya nakakimkim. Okay? And so this is my challenge for under emotional is this. You have to be intentional. You have to ask yourself, what needs attention? Dito sa tatlong ito, ano dyan sa tatlong yan ang kailangan ng attention? Kailangan mong i-improve. Right? Alin dito sa tatlong ito ang kailangan mong i-strengthen? Okay? So you just choose. Saan ka medyo nagsastruggle dyan sa tatlong yan? And what can you do today to help you strengthen that? What needs attention and what needs strengthening? So that is emotional. How we express, how we experience our emotions. And now let's move forward to mental. Mental. Now, ano ang difference ng emotional and mental? Ang emotional is how you process and feel your emotions. Okay? Ang mental is how you process information here. How you think. Okay? How you interpret things. Yan ang mental. So, I don't know if you know this, pero I'm pretty sure that this is familiar to you, itong mga parts of the anatomy na ito. So, alam natin that thalamus. So, this is the normal function of our system. Pag may nakita ka, alright, meron kang na-experience, your thalamus the sensory signals will be sent into your thalamus. Sensory. Kaya nakikita mo, na-sense mo, na-experience mo, thalamus. And so si thalamus ngayon, isi-send niya yung signal na yon kay neocortex. Ano ang neocortex? Ang prefrontal cortex, nasa loob yan ng neocortex. So basically, that is your thinking brain. Okay, so isi-send niya ngayon yung information, yung na-experience mo kay neocortex. So si neocortex ang mag-iisip. Now, that information will be sent to your amygdala, to your emotions. So ano ngayon yung naisip ko, and therefore, ano yung mararamdaman ko? Amygdala. Okay, now from your amygdala, it will be sent to your frontal lobe to prepare yourself to act, to voluntarily say ano ang kailangan kong gawin ngayon. Okay, so it starts with the thinking, and then the feeling, and then the behavior. Alright, malinaw ha? Neocortex, amygdala, frontal lobe. Now, a lot of times, for us, what happens is this. We call this the hijacking of the amygdala. The hijacking of the amygdala. Meaning, ito si thalamus, yung signals niya, yung information niya, hindi nakakapasok kay neocortex, dumadiretso kay amygdala. And so what happens? Sige nga, i-analyze natin. If neocortex is for thinking and amygdala is for feeling, what happens if na-skip sa neocortex? Ano ang nasa-skip? The thinking part of your brain is skipped. And that is the reason why we act on impulse. That is the reason why na-experience nyo na ba yung may nagawa kayo na parang, teka, hindi ko na pag-isipan yun na. O may nasabi kayo na parang hindi ko naisip kung tama bang sabihin ko yun or not. Right? Because it hijacks your amygdala na uunahan tayo ng feelings natin. Hindi tayo nakapag-iisip. Now, what can we do? What can we do so that the neocortex can take control? What can we do so that our thinking brain can be strengthened para hindi tayo laging driven by our emotions? Kasi nakakapagod, di ba? Nakakapagod yung puro emosyon na hindi pinag-iisipan kapag nagawa na, tsaka mo pagsisisihan yung ginawa mo. Di ba? Kasi hindi mo naisip kung naisip ko lang. Right? So how do we strengthen that? So here, the amygdala and then the prefrontal cortex. We are able to strengthen the thinking brain kesa sa amygdala when we start labeling our emotions. Okay? When we start labeling our emotions. So first, you take a breather. First, na kailangan mong gawin kapag alam mong na-overwhelm ka na, ang tawag natin dyan is emotional flooding, na-overwhelm na si amygdala mo kasi hindi pumunta kay neocortex, dumiretso kay amygdala. So si amygdala, sobrang overwhelmed, sobrang daming emotions, what do? You take a breather. You step back. You don't act. Right? You step back and say, you take yourself out of the situation first. Kailangan ko lang ng pahinga. Kunyari, nasa heated argument or hindi na nagkaroon ng malaking miscommunication, you just tell your group, hey, I just need a minute. Aalis muna ako, babalik ako. Right? You take a breather. And once you take a breather, okay, once na nag-take breather, si amygdala, medyo hihinahon yan si amygdala. Okay, hihinahon si amygdala. Now, what you want is palakasin si prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain. So what you want to do is you want to try to label your emotions. Ano ang nararamdaman ko ngayon? Ano to? Ano tong hindi ko naiintindihan na nararamdaman ko? What is this? Okay, when you do that, you are strengthening your thinking brain because nag-iisip ka. And kapag tumaas ang cognitive process, your thinking brain, bumababa ang reaction. Okay? Bumababa ang bugso ng damdamin kasi nag-iisip ka. And neurologically, kasi mas nasa-strengthen si neocortex or si prefrontal cortex kesa kay amygdala. So how do we do that? Here. You can Google this actually. This is from Google. It's a wheel of emotions. And basically, these are different emotions that we have. Madalas, dahil hindi tayo sanay, di ba? Wala tayong words. Parang, anong nararamdaman ko ngayon? Hindi ko alam. Hindi ko alam kung anong nararamdaman ko ngayon. So, I think it's about time that we get acquainted with the different feelings that we have. So, kapag wala ka lang magawa, or like every day, bago ka matulog, humanap ka lang dyan ng isang emosyon, and then look at it in the dictionary. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng indifferent? Ano ibig sabihin ng unfocused? Ano ibig sabihin ng indignant? Okay? So, be acquainted. Alamin mo yung iba't ibang salita ng mga emotions so that when you are actually overwhelmed, mas meron ka ngayong capability na i-label kung ano yung nararamdaman mo. Because research has shown na kapag ni-label mo, you are strengthening the what? The thinking brain, the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex, at humihina si amygdala. So, you can behave, you can make decisions, you can act accordingly. Hindi sa bugso ng damdamin, na pag-isipan mo siya ng mabuti. Alright, so that is how you strengthen your neocortex, your mental strength. Now, third is also filter what your mind consumes. Kanina sabi natin na it's important for us to externalize, it's important for us to express ourselves. Sa mental naman, kasama din ito na you have to be careful what your mind consumes. I always say na maingat tayo sa food intake natin. 'Di ba? Lalo na kapag diet ka, kapag healthy conscious ka, 'di ba? Health conscious ka, you are very careful of your food intake. But this is my challenge for you students. Also be careful of your thought intake. Be careful of what you feed your mind. Meaning, when you are scrolling through Instagram, ano-ano yung mga tinitignan mo sa Instagram. And pay attention to what you feel at what you think. Diba? Sometimes, pag nagsuscroll tayo sa Instagram natin, may mga tao, may mga post tayong nakikita na bigla na lang tayong maiirita. Diba? Or bigla na lang we start comparing ourselves with other people. Buti pa siya, buti pa sila. Right? Or we start competing with them. Diba? And then, because may comparison, may competition, you feel discontented with your life. Feeling mo, talunan ka, feeling mo na pag-iiwanan ka na, feeling mo, hindi ka maganda, feeling mo, hindi ka successful, because you started comparing yourself with other people. So, you have to be very careful on what you look at on social media. Now, I recommend this actually to even my clients. When somebody triggers you online, di ba minsan, let's be real, nangyayari yan sa atin, kahit na wala namang ginagawang masama yung tao sa atin, minsan parang may vibe lang na hindi natin type, di ba? Hindi natin parang ka-vibe yung taong ito, naiinis tayo sa mga post ng taong ito. You know what? The best thing that you can do is is that you mute the person. You mute the person sa Instagram, meron yon. You can mute the story, you can mute the post. In Facebook, you can unfollow the person. Not unfriend ha, unfollow. So you don't have to block the person kasi malalaman nila na in-unfriend mo sila, magkakaroon din ng gulo. 'Di ba? So you can mute and you can unfollow on Facebook. Hindi nila yan malalaman. And then, you ask yourself, bakit ako natitrigger dito sa taong ito? So, self-awareness. Yeah? But, at least conscious ka and intentional ka na hindi ka tingin ng tingin doon sa mga profile nila. Naiinis ka na nga, tingin ka pa ng tingin. Diba? So, we have to be very careful of that. And kapag okay ka na, if you have found out bakit nga ba ako natitrigger, may issue ako sa sarili ko, kaya apektado ako dun sa pinopost niya, pero ngayon okay na ako, pwede mo na sila i-unmute. Pwede mo na sila i-follow ulit. No, because many times the things that we feel, the things that we're thinking of, it's really not about them. It's actually about us. So we have to be intentional in asking ourselves, anong nangyayari sa akin? But at the same time, wag mong ilulo yung sarili mo sa mga pinopost nila kasi naiinis ka na nga. Correct? So you limit your consumption, even sa news. To be honest, for me, I do not watch the news anymore. At the end of the day, I just look at the number of cases this COVID, and that's it. I don't read stories of COVID anymore because it affects me negatively. And you have to know what affects you negatively. And then you put a filter. Hindi natin sinasabi na ayaw natin maging informed, ha? We have to be informed about what's happening around us. But you have to put a limit. You have to put a boundary on what you consume. Yeah? So that is for mental. And so this is my challenge for you. What should I limit or cut off? Ikaw lang ang makakaalam yan. What should you limit or cut off? Okay. And then, what more should I be consuming? So, nag-cut off ka, pero ano ngayon yung ilalagay mo ngayon sa mind mo? So, my encouragement for you is you follow inspirational quotes on Instagram. You follow yung mga motivational posts on Instagram. You follow yung mga encouraging things on Instagram. So that when you browse, mas madaming encouraging kaysa mas maraming nakakainis. Correct? So, what should you cut off and what should you be consuming? Sometimes we just focus on one. Ano yung ika-cut off ko? Nag-cut off ka nga, pero wala ka namang good things coming in. Correct? So, kailangan mag-cut off ka, pero meron kang good things coming in. Yeah? So, you write it down, and then you start making progress. You start making choices every day to help your mental aspect. And then the social one. Ano naman ang social? How do we socialize with other people? Now, this is an experiment that Edward Tronick did. We call this the still face experiment. So, basically, ang ginawa nila sa experiment na ito, nagtawag sila ng nanay tsaka ng anak. And then, pinagharap nila. And so the mom would interact with the child. And all of us, we are wired to have relationships. We are wired for relationships. Imposible na kaya mong mag-isa lang. So kailangan natin ng mga tao sa buhay natin. And this is the proof. So what happened is, pinag-interact nila yung mommy and yung baby, and look at the first picture above. 'Di ba? Yung mommy sobrang happy, and then the baby is also happy. And then, after a couple of minutes, they asked the mom to do a poker face. Walang reaction, walang connection, you just stare. And then seconds after that, look at the baby. The baby started crying. The baby started feeling upset. The baby started feeling frustrated kasi wala siyang nakukuhang connection with the other person. And what does this tell us? That our brain is wired for connection. And I wanted to look at this one. Alam nyo ba that our brain, specifically the DACC, that is the dorsal anterior of the cingulate cortex, DACC, dorsal anterior of the cingulate cortex, that is a part of their brain that is activated kapag binugbog ka, kapag physically may pain. And alam mo ba that any social pain, rejection, kahit anong pain that is caused by social, all right, that is the same part of the brain that is activated. Look at the picture. Same yung part ng brain na na-activate sa social and the physical. No wonder why pag na-heartbroken ka, pag break ka, kapag iniwan ka, it literally feels like your heart is being torn apart. Have you ever experienced that? Na parang sa sobrang sakit, parang literal na napupunit yung puso mo. 'Di ba? Literal na parang may sasaksak sa puso mo sa sobrang sakit. Why? Because for your brain, it's the same thing. For your brain, social pain and physical pain is the same. So what are the implications that we can take from this? Social aspects of our life is very important. Very, very important. So, you have to be intentional in meeting your support group. May support group ka ba? Meron ka bang mga kaibigan na pwedeng matakbuhan pag may kailangan ka, kapag kailangan mo ng kausap? When you're feeling empty, meron bang nag-fill in sa emotional tank mo? So, you have to be intentional in doing that. Yeah, kasi kailangan mo yan because you're wired. Like that baby, kapag wala kang interaction with people, you start feeling anxious. You start feeling sad. You start feeling lonely. Diba? So, you have to make time for your support group. And alam ko, challenging ito talaga for us because of the pandemic. Pero kahit virtual lang, gawin na natin. Kahit na through phone lang, gawin na natin. And second is this. 3 A's: affirmation, attention, affection. I hope and pray that we create a culture, we create an environment where everybody is trying to give affirmation, attention, and affection to other people so that everybody is also receiving affirmation, attention, and affection. So what is affirmation? Affirmation is this. When you see something good, speak it. I'll repeat that. When you see something good, speak it. If you like someone's dress, uy, ang ganda ng dress mo. Uy, ang ganda mo today. Uy, ang gwapo mo today. Uy, you're doing a good job. Uy, nagustuhan ko yung lecture mo. Uy, nagustuhan ko yung presentation mo. Uy, salamat dahil responsible groupmate ka. When you see something good, speak it. Huwag tayong maging madamot sa praises and compliments. Sometimes dahil takot tayo na, ay baka mamaya sabihin nila nambobola lang ako, or baka lalaki ko kasi ulo niyan, kaya wag mong pansinin. You know what? In our time today, people need encouragement. People need praises and compliments. So let's be generous of our praises, of our compliments, affirmation, attention. As a Filipino, mahilig tayo sa ganito. Hmm? Ano daw? Oo. Sino sa atin ang guilty sa ganon? I was guilty of that before. And to be honest, I learned the hard way. I was in the States, I did that, and then yung isang American friend ko, sabi niya, China, you know what, that's rude. And when I thought about it, it's rude. Because when you're doing that, it makes the other person feel insignificant, na you're not important, mas importante to. So, ang attention ko nandito, hati yung attention ko sa'yo. So let's practice that when we are listening to someone, you pay attention, you look them in the eye, especially now na naka-face mask na lang tayo. You know what? Because of the face mask and face shield, ang pag-aaral ngayon is bumababa ang empathy. There is a decrease in empathy. Why? Because we cannot detect the emotional cues of people anymore. We cannot see smiles anymore. And that's the reason why kahit na we're surrounded by a lot of people, because lahat naka-mask tsaka lahat naka-shield, ang lungkot pa rin natin on the inside. Feeling natin parang mag-isa pa rin ako. Kahit na ang daming tao around me, because of that. Because again, sabi natin kanina, di ba, the part of your brain na nag-activate when there is social rejection or pag wala kang ma-detect na emotional cues, it's like the part of the brain na nag-activate sa physical. So it hurts us. May effect yun sa atin. So that's my encouragement for you when you see someone, when you're talking to someone, especially kasi wala na nga silang makita sa mukha mo, kundi ang mata mo, you look that person in the eye. You tell that person, you know what, I see you. And then you actually say their names. We love when people say our names. Kaya sa Starbucks, di ba, they actually ask for your name. Kung tutuusin sa Starbucks, pwede namang number na lang eh. Number 25, please. Pero why do they ask for your name? Because when they ask for your name and when they call their name, it makes you feel like I'm an important person. You know, they see me here. I am acknowledged here. My presence is acknowledged here. So you verbalize the person's name. You mention the person's name to make that person feel na, you know what, you matter. You know what, I see you and I hear you. Okay, affection. Ano naman ang affection? Now, this is harder because it's may social distancing, but basically affection is the tap. The tap on the shoulder, all right, or a fist bump kasi hindi tayo ngayon makapag-beso-beso or makapag-hug. But you know what? That is very important because lahat tayo, because we are social creatures, we are social beings. When we touch somebody, nire-release ulit yung brain natin na neurotransmitters that help us trust, that fosters trust. So imagine mo kapag ang baby, 'di ba, hindi mo yan binubuhat or hindi ka nagpa-practice ng proper affection doon sa baby, that baby will be distant. That baby will be cold kasi walang trust. So if you want to foster trust, you have to kahit tapik lang or fist bump lang or elbow to elbow lang, you know, or even just wave. Hindi mo sila physically na hinahawakan, pero hinahawakan mo somehow yung soul nila by just waving and acknowledging their presence. And then third is have a trusted and honest friend. When I said trusted and honest friend, ito yung friend na hindi lamang yung gusto mo yung sasabihin niya, but a friend who will tell you what you need to hear. That will give you honest feedback. Katulad ng sabi natin kanina, intellectual humility. You will only be able to do that if you have a trusted and honest friend. So I hope that you will find a trusted and honest friend who can be honest to you. Yeah? And so this is the challenge for social. Who do I need to meet on a weekly basis? You have to schedule it. You have to schedule it sa barkada ninyo or sa kaibigan ninyo na, uy, Zoom naman tayo every Monday or every other Monday, you know, or if you are involved in a spiritual church or a Catholic church, di ba may mga small groups sila, you involve yourself in that so that kahit na pandemic, hindi tayo isolated sa mga tao. Kahit na virtual lang, at least may nakikita tayo, may nakakausap tayo. Yeah? Social. And lastly, the spiritual. You know, spiritual is not just about religion. Spiritual is anything that has to do with fostering our spirit and our soul. And one of this is what I want to share with you, the gratitude. Very important that we cultivate gratitude. It's not just plainly being thankful. There is a neurological basis again for this. You know, our brains, depending on what we think of, okay, depending on what we think of, our brains create neural pathways. Yung nakikita nyo na yan na mga daan-daan, okay? It creates neural pathways. Now, when you think of something again and again and again, nakita ninyo, mas makapal yung pathway, mas makapal yung daanan. So it's a stronger pathway. Now, those pathways determine how you see things, how you interpret things, and how you behave. So basically, depending on what you think all the time, it will determine how you see things, your outlook in life, and how you behave. So it's like this. Parang ano yan, nagda-drive ka, na-stuck ka sa putikan, hindi ka ngayon makaalis, you step on the gas, di ba? Magkaka-dents yan. So basically, pagka nagka-dent yan, kapag ka umulan, the water will flow on the dents. The same thing with the neural pathways. If you keep on thinking of positive things. Positive muna tayo ha. When you are thinking of positive things, what kind of neural pathways will be created in your brain? Positive neural pathways. So, even when life is tough, even when things are not going your way, when you look at things, because you have a lot of positive neural pathways, it's easier for you to be optimistic. It's easier for you to be hopeful. It's easier for you to see the good things because your brain is filled with positive neural pathways. Baliktarin natin. What if you keep on thinking of negative thoughts? What if you keep on thinking of negative things? What kind of neural pathway will your brain create? It will create what? Negative neural pathways. And so, even when there is a good thing that's happening in your life, all you can see is all negative. All you can see is all lack, yung kulang, yung kakulangan mo, yung hindi mo nagagawa, yung pangit na nararanasan mo. And so gratefulness or gratitude allows us to focus on positive things, which will help what kind of neural pathways? Positive neural pathways. So that is my first tip. Keep a gratitude journal. Every day, you ask yourself, what can I be grateful for? Kahit na mahirap, kahit na ang pangit ng araw ko, what am I grateful for? And I do this. And so I can 100% guarantee that it will help you. It will help you get rid of toxic emotions. When you are when you are grateful, kahit na sobrang liit na bagay lang na, you know, I'm grateful because I'm alive today. I'm grateful because my parents are safe today. I'm grateful because kahit na mahirap, I'm actually learning something. Na kahit na mahirap, I am better today than I am yesterday. So things like that. And here's the thing. The challenge is, hindi pwedeng umulit. Okay? So kung ano yung pinagpapasalamat mo ngayong araw na ito, tomorrow, you have to think of different things. So that, para ma-compel or ma-train mo yung isip mo to really look at even the simplest things. Okay? And we also have what we call the reticular activation system. That is part of your brain. Again, it's the reticular activation system. And what it does, parang Google search yan. Okay? The reticular activation system. Sa Google, pansinin mo, kapag meron kang ginugol, the next time that you Google it or when you look at Instagram, na-experience nyo na yun, na-Google kayo, for example, ng furnitures here in Manila. Tapos, nag-open ka ng Instagram mo, may mga ads na puro furniture. Nag-open ka ng Facebook mo, may mga ads puro furniture. Parang, paano nila alam na naghahanap ako ng furniture? Kasi ginugol mo. So the same thing with reticular activation system. Your brain, what you focus on expands. Kung ano ang hinahanap mo, yun ang makikita mo. So kapag ang hinahanap mo, if you are focused on the negative lang lagi, yun ang makikita mo. Kapag ka nakafocus ka sa laging sasabihin ng ibang tao, yun ang makikita mo. Kapag nakafocus ka na lagi kang i-betray or lagi kang i-hurt ng ibang tao, yun ang makikita mo. Kasi, because of the RAS, the reticular activation system, what you focus on expands. But if you focus on the positive things, if you focus on the things that gives you inspiration, that will also expand. Yeah? So keep a gratitude journal. And I just want to play this. This is very short. And this tells us, this is actually a secular news program. And dito, pinag-aralan nila kung ano ang effect ng prayer and meditation sa brain. So let's all watch this.
Does prayer heal? Dr. Andrew Newberg says he's got proof it does. Witness the brain on prayer.
You see it's almost all red here when the person is just at rest, but you see it turns into these yellow colors when she's actually doing prayer.
Dr. Newberg injects a radioactive dye in his subjects to see what happens when they pray. He says each time something fascinating takes place. So would you go so far as to say prayer can heal?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There are changes in different neurotransmitters, the chemicals in our brain that helps to release things like serotonin and dopamine in the brain, some of which can help to repress pain.
Dr. Newberg's research and the books she's written are part of the hundreds of studies in the past decade as the medical establishment takes a new look at religion's role in modern medicine.
All right. I hope that was very clear. Sana clear yun sa audio ninyo. Basically, this doctor, pinag-aralan niya kung anong nangyayari sa brain whenever a person is meditating, whenever a person is praying. And if you can notice what he said, there is a change, there is a release, there is an increase in what kind of neurotransmitters? Dopamine and serotonin. And those two things, yung kanina pa nating pinapaulit-ulit na very important for good mental health, for good mood, right? And so very important for us to actually pray and meditate. Pray and meditate. You know, take that time to actually pause and pray. Pause and meditate on God's word, or pause and meditate on whatever truth that you believe in. Yeah, because it helps release dopamine and serotonin. And you know, gusto ko lang i-mention very briefly, dopamine and serotonin, yan ang kulang sa mga taong may depression or merong major depressive disorder. So this can also be a protective factor pa for you. You know, if you're struggling with depression, or if ayaw mo mag-struggle ng depression, you pray and you meditate. It's not the absolute answer. We're not saying na pag spiritual ka, hindi ka magkakaroon ng depression. We're not saying that, but we're saying that this can be helpful for you. Prayer and meditation. And so here, as I kind of wrap everything, here is a challenge for you when it comes to the spiritual aspect. What are 3 things that I'm grateful for today? Sige nga, let's just do this as an exercise. Can you just take out your pen and a paper? And I want you to start thinking. I'm going to give you a few seconds to just think. What are the 3 things that I am grateful for today? Go ahead. Write it down. 3 things that you are grateful for today. And then, what truth can I hold on to today? Ano ang isang katotohanan na pwede mong panghawakan ngayong araw na ito? Ano ang isang katotohanan na pwede mong panghawakan ngayong araw na ito? And for me personally, I actually wrote this on my journal last night. My truth, ang truth na pinapanghawakan ko this week is just as he said, just as Jesus said. And I am a Christian, and for me, I think when I read the Bible, especially na kaka-celebrate lang natin, 'di ba, ng Easter or Resurrection Sunday, ang muling pagkabuhay ni Jesus. Before pinako si Jesus sa cross, he actually said it, na mamamatay ako pero mabubuhay ako ulit sa pangatlong araw. And exactly what he said, it happened. So malaking impact sa akin yung thought, yung truth that Jesus, just as what Jesus said. And for me, that gives me hope right now that whatever Jesus said will come true. That when Jesus says that I am your strength, I can trust him that he is my strength. That when Jesus says that I am your constant companion, I am your constant friend, iwanan ka man ng lahat, I am here for you, I can trust that he is my constant companion. When Jesus says that I will provide for all your needs, then I can also trust that he can provide for all my needs. It doesn't mean na walang problems. It doesn't mean that everything will be okay, but I can trust that he will be there for me. So yun ang truth ko. What is your truth? What is the truth that you can hold on to today? And this aspect of our challenge, ito yung sabi natin kanina, no, we have to acknowledge what we're going through. Kailangan nating aminin pag tayo ay galit, pag tayo ay malungkot, pag tayo ay frustrated, pag tayo ay irritable or disappointed. Pero itong spiritual aspect na to, yung gratefulness and the truth that you can hold on to, this will be the one that will lift you up. Right? So you acknowledge your genuine human experience, but these things, the gratitude, your truth, will be the one to lift you up. Ito yung, kaya natin pwedeng sabihin ito. Ang kalungkutan, ang disappointment, dinadaanan yan, hindi tinatambayan. And you can only do that when you are grateful. You can only do that if you have a truth that you can hold on to no matter what. Dadaanan mo ang pain, dadaanan mo ang kalungkutan, dadaanan mo ang galit. Pero in order for you na hindi yun tambayan, so that you will not wallow in your misery, we have to learn how to be grateful. We have to learn how to hold on to the truth, even when we do not see, even if we do not understand, even if we do not feel it. Kasi ito yung katotohanan, so ito yung panghahawakan ko kahit na anong mangyari. And I believe, students, no matter what profession you're in, no matter what calling in life you're in, all of us will go through tough times. All of us will go through difficult times. And I tell you, ito lamang ang makakapagsalba sa'yo. When you know how to take good care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, and spiritually. So you have to make a decision. Yung gagawin mo today, starting today, it doesn't have to be big. It can be just one thing that you learned today in this seminar, and then you start doing it. Little things, little decisions that we make. Kapag ka nagsama-sama yan, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. So do not despise the small things that you do every single day, and be wise. Be wise in the things that you look at. Be wise in the things that you consume. And of course, practice gratitude and hold on to the truth that you believe in. And as I close, I want to end this time by this quote. It says, I love this. This has been one of my favorite quotes ever since I read this. It says, self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift I have, the gift I was put on earth to offer others. Anytime we can listen to true self and give it the care it requires, we do it not only for ourselves, but for the many others whose lives we touch. I'll repeat that. And I don't know, I know I cannot hear you, but if you can read it with me so that this will just sink in into our hearts and our souls. Self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship. Alam niyo kung anong good stewardship? That means you being a good manager of yourself, of the life that you have, of the only gift I have, which is yourself. The gift I was put on earth to offer others. Anytime we can listen to true self and give it the care it requires. We do it not only for ourselves. Self-care is not only for ourselves, but for the many others whose lives we touch. Students, self-care is for yourself, yes, but it is also ultimately for the many others whose lives you will touch and you touch. That can be your patients, that can be your family members, that can be your friends, that can be anyone you encounter in this journey, that you will be able to touch their lives because you took care of yourself. And as I close, I want to give this truth to you. No matter where you are in your journey, no matter how well you're doing in school, either achiever ka, average student ka, or you're struggling, wherever you are, this is the truth. You are a gift. You are not a gift based on what you can do. You are not a gift based on what you can accomplish. You are not a gift based on what you have or what people say about you. You are a gift because of you, because of you, your being. You are a gift. And I hope and I pray that you will be a good steward of your gift, of your life, that you will take good care of yourself so that you can also touch the lives of other people, that you can be a blessing and not a burden to those people around you. Maraming salamat for staying with us. And if you have questions, feel free to comment down on this comment box below or send your questions to the organizers. I would love to discuss with you and dialogue with you. Maraming salamat and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Miss Shaina. It's a really very meaningful talk, especially for us students. So before we start the question and answer portion, may I call on my co-host, Caril de la Cruz?
Hello. Wow. Thank you po, Miss Shaina, for the wonderful presentation. Wow, kahit na we are the organizers, marami tayong
Yes.
natutunan sa lecture ni Miss Shaina. And I personally, na-challenge po ako kay Miss Shaina na to make it a priority na everyday talaga, kailangan natin mag-exercise. Yun yung number one talagang natutunan ko here. Dapat
What is
mag-exercise
your
tayo
most
4 times
favorite
a
part,
week.
Caril?
Favorite part, medyo sa may dulong part na, kasi especially now na we're full of examinations, lahat ng students, syempre exam, then lecture. Ang tumatak sa akin na sinabi ni Miss Shaina is, wag tambayan ng mga disappointments. Like, kunwari, you failed on a certain quiz. Oh, okay, may makukuha kang low grade, but daanan lang natin yan. Syempre, you have to bounce back sa next quiz. Pero yeah, yun po. And then, how about you, Kara? What was the
Ako
most
naman,
significant highlight?
It's more on the first part ng lecture, nung sinabi ni Miss Shaina that self-care is not selfish. Kasi minsan tayo na masyado tayo nakokonsensya kapag, ay wait lang, I will take a breather after this, or lalo na ngayon, midterms exams, I know na lahat is busy sa pag-aaral, tapos pagod na pagod tayo, and when we take a break, kahit small break lang, we actually feel very guilty na we're taking time for ourselves, na baka pinapabayaan na natin yung isang aspect ng buhay natin. So while listening to the talk, mas nakilala ko yung sarili ko and mas na-understand ko
Yes.
yung ano ba talaga yung importance na to care for yourself. So, okay, let's go on. Our questions from our audience, both from Facebook and from YouTube. Okay. So, first question from Facebook is, sabi niya, do you have any routines that you do for yourself to maintain good mood po, ma'am?
All right. So for me, I have to agree with Carol na isa sa mga talagang kailangan ko maging intentional is really exercise. Prior to the pandemic, I'm always out and about. I'm always active because I always go out. Pero now, because I am a public speaker, so everything's online. So lagi lang ako nakaupo, lagi lang akong nag-research, lagi akong gumagawa ng talks ko. So it's really challenging to be active. Pero that's one of the things that I'm incorporating in my daily routine. Pero one thing siguro na mas naging faithful ako na gawin this year compared to last year is really the gratitude journal. So every day yan, walang palya, hindi ako matutulog until I write down things that I am grateful for. And I also practice prayer and meditation. So every day I have a verse, I have a quote that I ponder upon, and I pray. Kasi sa totoo lang, now that it's pandemic, mahirap din minsan talaga. May mga times that we have time with our friends, pero dahil busy din sila, hindi mo din sila makausap. So for me, I talk to God. I tell God whatever I am feeling. So yun yung parang way ko to externalize, yun yung way ko to vent out. And then I meditate. So those are the things that I do. Yun yung part ng daily routine ko. And then what else pa ba that I do? I also allot a time in my schedule. Yung sinasabi kanina ni Cara, na nakaka-guilty sometimes kapag alam mo may gagawin ka pa, tapos magpapahinga ka. That's me also. So I'm also teaching right now. I'm grade 12 student. So imagine how many exams that I have to check and how many reflection papers that I have to read and comment on. And so sometimes it gets piled up. So minsan sobrang gusto ko na magpahinga, pero dahil nagigilty nga ako magpahinga, dahil meron pa akong kailangan gawin, hindi ako magpapahinga. Pero what I realize is this, pag hindi ako nagpahinga, then I will not be productive. I will just be more frustrated, bukas makalawa, probably I'm just burnt out. So that's what I tell myself. So sinasabi ko sa sarili ko na, okay, I'm just giving myself an hour to just have a breather, to just watch. So ang stress reliever ko is I watch. I watch series. Meron akong sinusubaybayan na series. So yun ang ginagawa ko. That's part of my daily routine. And then I break the things that I have to do. So for example, 1 week, these are the things that I have to do in a week. So I break it down. And hindi ko tinatry na tapusin lahat in one single day. So for example, kapag naka-check na ako sa dapat kong gawin ng Monday, I just rest. Kahit na pwede kong gawin yung pang Tuesday. No, I just rest. And then sa Tuesday, gagawin ko yung pang Tuesday. So taking one day at a time, taking one step at a time. So that's my routine.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shaina. Okay, we have our second question coming from Facebook. So, ang sabi dito is, paano po if my friend ka na may time na she's toxic, so medyo naiinis ka? Kaso may time naman na she's okay talaga, so you'll kind of feel guilty po. What can I do to protect myself and maintain my peace?
All right. Okay, that's a good question. First of all, we have to recognize na lahat tayo toxic. Okay, lahat tayo toxic. Mabilis mag-label na ang toxic niya. Pero in reality, lahat tayo may katoxican talaga. Even myself, meron akong mga katoxican. So first is, we have to be humble enough to understand na lahat tayo may katoxican. So kapag ang isang tao ay toxic, hindi natin siya i-judge. Ayoko na dito sa tao na to, sobrang toxic kasi. So we cut off our ties with the person. So that is not healthy. What we can do is create healthy boundaries. Ano yung healthy boundary? For example, alam mo na ngayon, medyo wala sa mood itong kaibigan mo na ito, no? Wala sa wisyo itong kaibigan mo na ito. And alam mo rin sa sarili mo that your emotional capacity, you have to know your emotional capacity. Probably pagod na pagod ka sa exam mo, so lumiliit yung emotional capacity mo, correct? So dahil maliit ang emotional capacity mo today, it's okay. You do not have to feel guilty if hindi ka kaagad mag-reply sa kanya. Right? Or, kung ayaw mo naman siya i-scene zone, pwede mong sabihin na, uy, babalikan kita bukas. Meron lang akong kailangan tapusin. Okay? So you still acknowledge the person's presence, di ba? Pero you're creating that healthy boundary na in yourself, alam mo na I cannot accommodate you today kasi ang liit ng emotional capacity ko, pero babalikan kita. Yeah? So once na okay ka na ulit, you can handle ulit, you can now go to the person and say, uy, kamusta ka? Ano nga ba yung gusto mong sabihin sa akin? Now, if you are the other person, let's be respectful of the boundaries of others as well. Kapag sinabi ng isang tao na busy ako or sorry hindi ako makareply or kahit kaya sinin ka lang, wag mo agad personalin, especially if you are a good friend of this person. Wag mong personalin kapag sinin zone ka lang kasi nga naman, baka naman busy lang yung tao or baka naman maikli yung emotional capacity ng tao. You know what? One of the things that I hope that we learn how to do is before venting out sa isang tao, tanungin nyo muna siya na, uy, okay ka ba today? How are you today? Do you have the emotional capacity to listen to my rant? Diba? Be respectful because you do not know what the person is going through. Kung bigla ka na lang magra-rant, malay mo meron pala siyang pinagdadaanan, di nakadagdag pa tayo. Right? So, we create boundaries for ourselves, but at the same time, we respect the boundaries also of other people. So, for the person who asked this question, you don't have to be guilty. Kasi una sa lahat tayo may katoxican, lahat tayo may bad days, at lahat din naman tayo may good days. Diba? So, I think the reason why possible ka nagigilty, kasi feeling mo na judge mo siya. So kapag ka tinanggal mo yung judgment na yun, and you just accept na, this person, may days na toxic siya, may days na hindi siya toxic. Ako din, may days na toxic ako, may days na hindi ako toxic. We're equal. So I don't have to be guilty. And at the same time, wag mo din siya ika-cut off. Kasi pag kinot off mo siya completely, then you become guilty. Diba?
Next question po from YouTube. Paano po kapag strict ang father, ayaw niya nang nagsusungit ako at kapag nakita niya po ako na nagagalit or naiinis, magagalit po siya sa akin at sisigawan pa ako na galit daw ako.
Okay. So, that is, para sa nagtanong niyan, hindi ka nag-iisa. Especially in our culture na ang galit, ang inis is seen as a negative emotion. So a lot of time we suppress it, Ayaw natin yung galit, ayaw natin yung naiinis. Pero siguro, again, lagi ko to sinasabi sa mga clients ko, you do not have any control of the people around you. You do not have control on what they think, on how they behave, on what they will feel. But you will always have control of what you do. So in your case, wala tayong control, wala kang control sa ayaw at gusto ng tatay mo. Correct? So what you can do is kapag alam mong naiinis ka na, pag alam mong naiirita ka na, huwag ka naman din magdabog in front of your father, di ba? Kasi medyo disrespectful nga naman yon. We call this emotional regulation. Emotional regulation means that you are able to express what you're feeling in a way that it does not disrespect other people. You're not acting out. Hindi ka nagdadabog. Okay? So, how do we do this? So, for example, if medyo nafe-feel mo na, alam mo, ang inis naman natin, hindi naman bigla na inis ka. Nagbe-build up yan. Correct? Nafe-feel mo yan na parang naiirita ka na. And that happens to me too. I still live with my parents. We live in a house. And so, many times, kapag may ginagawa ako sa ingay, ang lakas-lakas ng mga boses nila, nafe-feel ko na naiirita na ako. So, what I do, if alam mo, pag nafe-feel mo na naiirita ka na, you get out of it. You go to your room, you go to kung saan man, umalis ka doon sa situation na yon. Para hindi siya mag-escalate. Or, if mag-escalate man siya, if naiinis ka, pwede kang sumigaw, pwede kang magdabog sa loob ng kwarto mo na walang nakakakita sa'yo. Right? You're still expressing yourself. You're not bottling everything inside. Correct? And then, hindi mo pa maaapektuhan yung tatay mo. Right? And so yon, I think self-awareness in really tuning in to what you're feeling kapag nag-escalate ka na, hindi yung inis na inis ka na, tsaka aalis. Kasi pag inis na inis ka na, tsaka aalis, ang tendency niyan, magdadabog ka pa alis. Diba? So alam pa rin nila na parang, galit na naman siya. Right? If naman, yung situation is yung kinakainis mo or kinakagalit mo is because of what your dad is doing, then depending on your relationship with your father, you can express, you can tell your father kung ano yung ayaw mo. Pero, wag mong gagawin yun pag naiinis ka. So, pahupain mo yung sitwasyon, and then, kapag in a good mood ka or whatever, you can just say, susunod, pwede po bang pahinaan na lang ng music kasi may ginagawa po ako. Ganon. So, that is what we call assertiveness. Kasi madalas kaya tayo naiinis in reality, ang thinking natin, dapat alam mo kasi, dapat alam mo yung nafe-feel ko, dapat nababasa mo yung nafe-feel ko. But in reality, people cannot read your mind. People do not know what you're feeling. So you have to tell them, you have to ask for what you need. So if you need silence, you have to ask for silence. If you need na maging kinder sila sa words nila, you have to ask for it. So being assertive in a respectful manner.
Next question naman po, coming from Facebook. Paano po if sa bahay mag-e-express ako ng emotions, pero sinasabi nila sa bahay ang drama ko naman? Yan po.
I think medyo similar, no, yung situation. Again, nakakalungkot because I feel like a lot of times, our family members, hindi naman nila intention na i-judge tayo or sabihan tayo na ang emotional mo, ang arte mo, hindi naman talaga nila yung intention. I think a lot of times, it's really because of hindi sila aware, hindi nila alam na hindi yun yung tamang way. So siguro, one thing that you can do is tell them about this seminar. I-share mo sa kanila yung natutunan mo this seminar. Na wala kang pinapatamaan, ha? Na parang you just share it na very light lang, na parang, uy, alam nyo ba, meron akong na-attendan na seminar, and then, sinabi doon na we have to acknowledge our feelings, na we have to be okay in expressing our feelings, na hindi mo sinasabi na, kasi kayo, dapat iniintindi nyo ako. Walang ganon, alright? So you're just planting seeds doon sa mga family members mo, kung ano yung mga healthy ways of expressing ourselves. But then again, my question will be, paano mo ine-express yung sarili mo? Diba? Because if we are expressing ourselves na parang walang emotional regulation, meaning hindi natin nakokontrol yung emotions natin, talagang isipin nila na parang ang OA naman, parang napaka-big deal naman, diba? So I think the key there is you first palakasin mo yung neocortex. Okay? You take time, you take a breather to actually think, and then kapag hupa na yung emotions mo, then you express yourself. Then you express your emotions. Yeah, so I hope I was able to answer that question.
So because 3 p.m. na po, can we answer like 2 more questions and then we'll proceed na lang po to the next. So yung next question po is from YouTube. Why do people tend to feed their triggers? Example, kahit alam na nilang may negative effect yung tao sa kanila, they would still visit the profile of that person.
Ay, sinang relate dyan? Okay. Alright. So, basically, this is because of yung brain natin, meron tayong mga nakasanayan. Okay? Meron tayong mga nakasanayan na mga ginagawa natin, unhealthy habits nga, sa tinatawag nila, na even if it has negative consequences, we still do it. Okay? We still do it. And so, ang paraan dyan is to cut the cycle. It's really intentional, deliberate, conscious effort na hindi na ako mag-visit ng profile nitong tao na to. Kasi marami akong hindi magandang nakikita naiisip tungkol dito sa tao na to. Sinustalk ko lang tong tao na to, kung ano-ano yung ina-assume ko tungkol sa tao na to. So I'm just gonna stop myself from visiting that person's profile picture. So yung change. And madalas, here's the thing, takot tayo sa change. Any change, ayaw natin. Kasi hindi tayo nasanay eh. Pero, now na aware ka, I want to commend the person who asked this question because you are aware. Meron kang certain awareness na hindi nakakabuti sa akin to, pero ginagawa ko pa rin. So that's already step number 1. Step number 2 is you control yourself not to look at the person. Kung kailangan mo siya i-mute, i-mute mo siya. Kung kailangan mo siya i-unfollow sa Facebook para hindi lumalabas yung post niya sa feed mo, gawin mo so that you can break that cycle and that you can create healthier habits. You know, one of the things that separates us from animals do not have the capacity to make decisions based on what they feel accordingly. Ang animals, kung ano na-feel nila, yun ang gagawin nila. As human beings, what sets us apart is our ability to make reasonable decisions and wise decisions. So, kapag ginagawa natin kung ano lang yung feel natin gawin, anong pinagkaiba natin sa mga animals, right? So we have to embrace, as human beings, we have to embrace that capacity to actually make decisions. So now na na-recognize mo that this is not benefiting me anymore, I'm gonna put boundaries, I'm gonna put limits to help me not check it. I will segue lang a brief personal disclosure, no. In my phone right now, I do not have Instagram on my home screen. I actually deleted the app because I realized that merong something sa Instagram na mga post that is not that I'm not okay with. So, instead of magalit ako, instead of mainis ako, kasi sometimes, relate ako sa sinasabi mo, kahit na naiinis ka, scroll ka pa rin ng scroll. So, for me to stop myself from doing that, I deleted the app. Now, if you ask me until when, I do not know. I am still trying to be aware of what I'm going through to assess myself. And then, siguro pag okay na ako, I'll put it back. But for now, I deleted it. So, you make ways for you to stop visiting that person's account.
Okay, Miss Shaina, last question na po. This is from Facebook. How can we know if we are giving false positivity to others and to ourselves? And how do we avoid it?
All right, false positivity or toxic positivity, katulad ng sabi natin kanina, you minimize, you deny, you avoid. 3 things. So when you minimize what you're feeling, so kunyari galit na galit ka, pero you feel like, wala naman akong karapatan magalit eh. So siguro yung galit ko mga 20% lang, but in reality, 90% yung galit mo. Alright, so you minimize, deny, hindi talaga ako galit, hindi, kumbaga dinideny mo sa sarili mo yung human experience mo. Third is you avoid. You don't want to deal with it, so ilulunod mo sarili mo sa K-drama or sa kung ano man para you're not gonna have to deal with it. So when you do that, it's false positivity. It's false positivity when you convince yourself that everything is okay when everything is actually not okay. And that the same thing with for other people. So when you impose that, na dapat happy ka lang lagi, na ang nega mo naman, dapat positive ka lang 24/7, then you are imposing false positivity or toxic positivity on other people because that is not their genuine human experience. How do you deal with that? Sa sarili mo, you learn how to sit with your difficult emotions. When you recognize that you're sad, I'm just sad. I don't have to get rid of this sadness right away. What can I learn in this sadness? What can I learn now? I'm angry right now. What can I learn from this anger? I learned from this anger na hindi ko pala kayang mag-tolerate ng mga tao na walang isang salita. You learn something about yourself. You don't have to get rid of that anger right away. Yeah, so sit with that difficult feeling. And then, alam mo, ang magic is when you actually label, when you actually recognize what you're feeling, unti-unti yan na mag-fade away. So, once na nag-fade away yan, you can start encouraging yourself again. So that's one. For other people naman, paano hindi maging toxic, mag-impose ng toxic positivity on other people? Don't expect people to be happy all the time. Because that's not possible. So yun yung ipaalala mo lang sa sarili mo na all of us have bad days. So if may karapatan ka to have bad days, may karapatan din sila to have bad days. Yeah?
Thank you so much, Miss Shaina, for asking our question. Answering our questions. So before we go on to the awarding of certificate, do you have anything to plug po to our audience, or last words for our students and audience that are watching with us right now.
Yeah. Your last words, I just want to repeat that you are a gift. And if somewhere in between the seminar, napaisip ka kung ano yung worth mo, ano yung value mo, that means that that's something that you really have to ask yourself. Ano nga ba yung worth ko? Ano yung value ko? Kasi yun ang foundation talaga ng lahat ng ginagawa talaga natin. And if you realize na mababa ang self-worth mo or mababa ang self sense of value mo, then you start talking to people. You start talking to trusted friends who will point out to you your strength. Kasi sometimes hindi natin nakikita yung strength natin, but we can have friends who will point out to you, uy, magaling ka dito. And my challenge for you, if hirap ka to accept that, is you just say thank you. Madalas, as Filipinos, we say, hindi naman masyado, di ba? Kaya, uy, ang ganda mo, hindi naman sa picture lang, di ba? Magaling tayo mag-negate or mag-deny ng mga things. But you just say thank you. Just say thank you and just be thankful. I'm thankful because somebody appreciated me. I'm thankful because I have a strength. And it doesn't make you mayabang. You are just accepting your strength. And so just focus on that, your value and your worth, because that will be the foundation of everything that you will do, regardless of your life calling.
Thank you so much. But is there any social media platforms where they can follow you so they can watch your past and your future talks po?
Yes, I do have my Facebook. I do have my Instagram. My name is Shaina Kwa. So I think nakikita naman siya sa name ko sa Zoom. It's Shaina, Shaina. Kwa is Cua. And if you have other questions na possibly hindi namin nasagot during this time because of our lack of time, I would be happy to answer you. So just message me, just shoot me a message, and I will try my best to get back to you.
Thank you so much again, Ms. Shaina Kua. So we'll move on to the awarding of certificate na po. So in grateful recognition of your service and support to our talk, we hereby present Ms. Shaina Gail R. Kua, MFT, with a certificate of appreciation for imparting your insight and inspiration as our guest speaker on our webinar entitled To All the Me's I've Loved Before, Self-Care is Your Welfare. So, yun pa. Thank you so much, Ms. Shaina Kua, and thank you sa lahat ng audience namin from Facebook and YouTube. We hope that you've learned a lot and you've gained a lot of new learnings from our webinar.
Okay, thank you po ulit, Ms. Shaina. So I would just like to remind everyone that the post-test link is now available and is posted on our official FB page, or you can see it down on the comment section below. And now for the closing remarks, I would like to call on our president, Ms. Paula Autida.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone watching us at home or wherever you may be. This has been an enjoyable time for us, and with an abundance of knowledge passed down to us, we would like to thank our guest speaker, si Ms. Shaina Kua, who provided us with an understanding on self-awareness and self-care and touched our hearts by letting us know that we matter too. We would also like to thank our audiences for lending their time listening to our topic. We hope you have gained more insight on the topic as much as we did. Our gratitude also goes to our professors, Mr. Ryan Gatbonton and Ms. Yasmin Umali, for guiding us in the process of our webinar, and to our Dean, Ms. Iris Chuaso, for making this event possible. Lastly, I would like to thank our classmates, especially the people behind the scenes, for their support and dedication in wanting to inform people about self-awareness and self-care. They have been so encouraging of this webinar since the beginning. So thank you for working with great enthusiasm for making this event happen. We couldn't have done this event without all of you. As we depart, I leave you with words from Mandy Hale. It is not selfish to love yourself, take care of yourself, and to make your happiness a priority. It is necessary. Thank you, everyone. May you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Stay safe and God bless. And also pala, Miss Shainek, may we have a photo up po with you with our classmates po? Thank you.